Listen, I'm just right now. I actually feel kind of brain dead. I just played Blood on the Clock Tower for like the last like I want to say like pretty much for like the last 8 hours. So
What's Blood on the Clock Tower?
it's a social deduction game that's more complex than Werewolf, and there's like all the information you get in the game could be false because of how the game plays out.
Hmm.
Like people could lie, or they in the way the game operates, the person who's the storyteller can give false information if you're poisoned or you're drunk and things like that.
So on the Among Us to Secret Hitler scale, where does it fall?
I think it is. I think it's more complex than Secret Hitler. So
That it's entirely possible. So at Paige's bachelorette party, me, Noah, Gerchak, Paige, and Allie, we played Push the Button on the Jackbox Party Pack, and
yep.
Noah historically and for many years has made me very upset for various reasons. This will shock no one, but I don't think I've ever been more mad at him than I was that night with Push the Button. It's
Oh
push
my
Really?
God.
Push the Button is like Among Us. It's actually just Among Us, but like a little bit better, I think. Um,
Yeah, I know the game. I'm fully
yeah,
aware.
yeah. It's I was so mad at him because there was a specific moment and I was losing my marbles where I was the alien and he was spot on with who the alien was, but he couldn't convince Paige and Gerchak to like hop on the train. And
Hmm.
so he was correct. And there was a point where you can do hacks in that game, right? So you can
Yep.
hack somebody else's thing so that they get a different prompt than the one that everybody else gets, so it throws
Hmm.
suspicion on them. The prompt Noah received was "You are an alien," and then it said true or false. And Noah thought that he got hacked, and so he just clicked true. And so we
Oh.
go to like the voting round, and we see the prompt, and the prompt really was "I am an alien," and Noah was like, I'm sorry, I just thought someone was messing with me, so I just clicked true instinctively." It was so funny,
I see.
it was so dumb. Howdy, everybody. My name is Grant. I am here with Nick
Hello.
and with Noah
Sup?
for another episode of the podcast with Eli, the podcast where famously we have Eli. Um, this week we're going to be talking about the upcoming Lansing Regional because that's we're all in the Mid Michigan area, so Lansing Regional we're going to talk about it. The results from YCS Providence, especially the post Allen significance. We went to a regional this past weekend in Indianapolis, so we're going to talk about that. And then there's a special topic if we have time. We're going to talk about at the end. Um, so I suppose we'll start. Lansing Regional. This is actually kind of crazy. There's a regional happening in Lansing, and so Michigan's a little bit of a wacky place, right? Pretty much, if you are live in Michigan, you're either going to Toronto, Rosemont, or more likely Indianapolis and Columbus for your regionals, because they don't always do regionals in Detroit for whatever reason. I don't. Something's going on with Kobo, I think, but they don't always do regionals in Detroit.
They used to a
They used
lot.
to. I think I've been to three. It was like Dabble, Pote, and they had one randomly in like LEDE and Phantom Nightmare. Yeah, Phantom Nightmare
Yeah, no, yeah,
formats.
it was that. That's the one I copied it. So yeah, it was that one.
So this time, instead of doing Detroit or even doing Grand Rapids, they're doing a regional in Lansing, which is sick as shit.
I
Um,
don't have to wake up at the ass crack of dawn
I
anymore.
get to drive a short amount of time. It's gonna be great. Um, so that'll be exciting. If you're listening to the pod and you want to come say hi, be sure to say hi. We'll be wearing shirts that say Team Evo on it, or at least all of us who still have those shirts will be.
And we will happily sign cards.
Yeah, sure. Listen, if someone asks me to sign, I'm gonna sign it. But like,
Yeah.
I think we have 10
Um,
listeners, and I think 9 of them are Matt. So
that'd be so funny if we actually genuinely got a person who came up and asked.
there's
Right? It's had to
actually
happen. He's had to happen at a regional.
I've
Pretty
been to
Well,
like
sure.
a YCS where someone came up to me and was like, "I watch the videos you guys make," and this was back when we were making videos on like the MSU Yu-Gi-Oh channel, I think.
okay.
And so they were like, "Hey, you're the MathMech guy. You wanna?" I used to watch your tech profiles. I was like, "Oh, that's crazy."
That's damn. All right.
I think it happened again somewhere else, but I don't remember the specifics of that one.
That one was for Chimera. I know that. You said someone came up and said, "Oh, I watched your video on
Oh yeah, it
Chimera
was
or
the
something."
thing that I put out like in October or September talking about like Chimera stuff, and it was like a week before um or like a couple weeks or a month before the 3 Chimera tops in Europe, which was really cool. But yeah, so come out and say hi. Um, the big topic for this week is the YCS Providence results. And I think there's like a lot less to talk about here than there actually might initially seem. I think that like the biggest thing from this YCS, and I it pains me to say this, but Malice is on fraud watch now. It's crazy.
Listen, again, this is again. I really don't want to compare this deck to one of my favorite decks of all time, but this deck is pulling the Thunder mantra right now. It's clearly one of the better decks in the room by far, no questions asked. But it cannot win an event to save its life. It's actually saddening.
The problem with Malice and is just that you will still lose games randomly. Like the weaknesses of Malice are better now, but they did not go away. You're still losing to Lancia, you're still losing to like Meowls, Perulia, uh, Fualos. Um, it's not. It hasn't gotten that specific aspect hasn't gotten much better. This is, I think, one of the greatest Swiss decks of all time, though. If you want to just top an event and lose in top like 32, Malice is a wonderful deck for that.
Yeah, and you even have people who like truly like Malice go to Providence and say, "I didn't play it because I did not want to just top the event. I wanted to win the event, and the deck is not going to win the event."
Yeah, we've been seeing Malice do really well at the national circuit the last couple weeks. I don't really have all the nationals results because there's like a billion of those. But it's been doing pretty well at the national circuit. I see like a video like winning nationals Malice deck profile a bunch. Um, but I think Malice is like the people who like Malice play Malice, and the people who don't necessarily like Malice are not going to play Malice. I guess that's how I would describe it.
Fair.
Mitsu had a great showing though. I think we were talking about this in the chat for a couple weeks prior, but and someone even said like they thought that Mitsu was being like AstroTurf, so everyone thought it was like the second best deck or so. But it ended up being just like either second best or best deck at this point. Was really interesting. Mitsu is crazy. That deck's insane. They finally they hate me so much.
It still blows
my
mind.
They made a good TCG archetype just to spite me.
Honestly, I don't know. The Mitsu deck, it's just like the Mitsu cards are so like good into certain interactions. Like the only thing they get hard stop by is like Droll, and that's if they open bad. Like if you open up a good enough hand, Droll doesn't matter. It's just silly.
Yeah,
Isn't
Droll and
Impulse also
are,
crazy against that deck?
Droll and Impulse are
There's
the
a
only
lot
two
of things you can do. Again, if you open up prayers, you play through Impulse. It's like the entire deck revolves around the one single card. It's kind of crazy.
Impulse is good if you've got it, but like there's exactly one deck right now that's playing Impulse. 2 if you count Pure Mitsurugi. Can Crystron? No, they have a lot of lights in the extra deck. I think I saw somewhere that there was some deck that was playing Impulse and going second, or maybe it was Mitsu Fiendsmith. They were playing Impulse and they were just playing it in the side deck, and when they went second, they just sided out all the Fiendsmith stuff and put in the Impulses so they could use it.
I think we talked about that in our chat. Someone was doing that. I don't know if I can get behind that. That's a crazy play.
The Fiendsmith cards are the best, are good. I don't see the reason to cut those things.
I think the big standout for Providence that I think we're just talking about Fiendsmith cards. Shooping just showed up with the best deck of the last format and got second. When people thought this deck was dead, and I will admit, I was in the camp of thinking this deck was done for. But good on him, man. That deck is amazing.
I think this is just big news for you.
It's super cool. I don't know. I love this deck with a burning passion. I really like this deck, and I'm very happy to see it do well.
Did you end up getting to see his list? And if you did, like, what about it, other than Shooping just being, a really fucking good player? What?
Shooping for Providence specifically took he took a stance. He main deck 7 Charmies, and he didn't main deck Cross. And I think a lot of people who play Raziel cannot fathom a world where they don't main deck Cross, because like that's like the best card in the deck. But it's the stance of like looking at the deck. It's like the deck's more of a Fiendsmith deck, where the Raziel stuff helps you facilitate the Fiendsmith cards or give you a better end board. That's the big thing. So it's just like a different way of looking at it.
I feel like you told me that though. Maybe that was last format. The getting people to carry over was another thing, another whole ordeal. But I feel like you told me that at some point.
I talked about that was probably what people were gonna have to do with the deck, because I just didn't think the Raziel part of the deck was the was the linchpin anymore. I thought the Featsmith cards would become the more like important aspect for the deck, and it seems like that is the case. And across the board, people who are doing well with the deck, that seems to be the case.
Hmm.
I didn't
He's Razio,
see
right?
on the topic of the Fiendsmith cards. I didn't see a lot of Fiendsmith Mitsu, though. I think that deck is insanely good. Um,
We didn't get a ton of feats with Mitsu at Providence, but we've seen it do very well across the European nationals train.
yeah. Let me see
It
if I can pull up.
won, I think it was Austria or the Netherlands. It was one of the two.
Mhm.
So,
Let me see if I can pull up the general results in the last couple weeks, along with the Providence results.
yep, it was Austria. Austria nationals, we had Fiendsmith, Mitsurugi Fiendsmith take first place, and also took second in that same event.
Yeah, I'm seeing mostly Ryziel, but there's definitely a good couple of Fiendsmith Mitsurugi.
I will, and again, I've been talking to people about that deck, and it's like it seems like the deck has a hard time into detonator specifically, which feels kind of weird because I think the Fiendsmith cards do really well into it, but the issue is like your Mitsu stuff. If you don't open up the Fiendsmith cards, have a hard time getting to the point where you can actually get to Fiendsmith stuff. So it's weird.
Hmm. One guy top with Chimera. Shout out that guy, or maybe two guys.
But I bet that makes you really happy every time.
I'm looking at the 0.59% on Yu-Gi-Oh! Pro Deck's like summary page, and I'm like, yeah! It's like the guy who's in like 20th place, and he's got the champagne meme. He's just blowing it everywhere. But that's me with Chimera.
Listen,
Well, did
every
you
time
see that list?
Did I? Oh, I have not. Let me. I've been looking at. I looked at a couple of lists, but they were from before Alan. Let me just run through it real fast. See if there's anything interesting. This one is just Chimera. This one is just. Oh, they're playing the cashier cards, but this one's just Chimera, and this one is just Chimera. Yeah, no, they're all pretty much the same.
Okay.
the other thing I always love when we have these conversations is I just love looking at the breakdown and I see that Phantom does better than Chimera on average, and it's so funny. It's so
Where are
funny.
you seeing Phantom Knight?
Phantom topped the. Oh, I gotta give me like 2 seconds. I'll find it.
If you win one event and you don't do another event, you technically have a better average than the Chimera, I do suppose.
It top aided the Queensland State Champion regional, I believe.
All right, Nick, I'm going to send you an image, and I want you to pay attention to the red circles that I am putting on the image. Okay? You ready?
Oh, okay, sure.
Cool. All right, now please pay attention to that, and I will post that on screen for everybody in editing.
Listen, I'm looking at the breakdown. I don't see jack squat for Chimera.
That's
but
crazy
fine.
because I see 3 times as much representation for Chimera on the list I'm looking at.
Oh my
buddy.
god.
Noah's like, let me move on, please. Generator got a top. That's crazy. Crazy. Oh, Vanadium got a top. I'm gonna look at that later. All right. But also looking at the list, I know that like people are making a really big thing about Fiendsmith Malice last format. I know that Pack and Triff and company were hyping that deck up. I don't think any Fiendsmith Malice got top 32. I'm not seeing any.
Not at Providence. Providence came down to a breakdown of majority being Malice, then Mitsu variants, Pure Raziel, and then the stragglers being like Mermail, Regenesis Cash, Blue Eyes, Evil Twin, Fiendsmith, and then Crystron.
Yeah. Interesting developments in Malice is like I think a lot of people has assumed we would be playing ending on Allied, but it looks like a lot of people, including top 4 Aditya, we're ending on Bomber Dragon, which I think is very interesting. Other than that, I mean, if you've been looking at or even glancing at like how Malice was doing before Alan, functionally it's doing the exact same thing. Mitsurugi, I think, is playing. There were a lot of different builds in Mitsurugi. We already talked about like 2 of them, but I think that this deck is like several more weeks before it's even solved. Couple of standouts from the YCS are Steven Santoli's Crystron list. So very funny. I'm sure Eli had a great time with that one. He was playing the horse cards, and I thought his reasoning for playing the horse cards was really interesting. Yeah, I think if you landed Imseti, I think you just win the duel. I think that actually is what the text on Imseti says. It's crazy.
It's insane. I don't think any deck right now, maybe outside of like Detonator specifically, they don't have a clean out for Imseti. Like if you go first and I go Imseti pitcher card, and it's like if you don't have Ash, you better hope you have Droll, because otherwise, that the amount of advantage you get from just doing that can be like astronomical. You can make a monster negate. You can just get it to engine with via zombie vampire, and I think it's just interesting to see that rogue decks are using the horse cards again, because like previously when the horse cards first came out, a lot of decks were doing what Santoli was doing, but it's cool to see it come back.
Yeah, I think that like, how do I phrase this? We dueled at locals. Me and Nick did the other day, and he was playing the Horus race deck. You can talk about that in a moment if you want, but
Sure.
I had Droll and Ash in my hand, and he went Imseti, and I was like, I think I gotta Ash this.
That's an insane feeling to know that you have both of the best interactions into this, and you're like, I don't even want to give him the draw.
It's like it's
So,
the well, if I can give you the draw, but then like if I let it go and I just droll you afterwards, you could very well just like because the droll doesn't stop you from making a rank 8, and then if you just mill like Turb, like that's really bad, you know. Or if you mill enough
I
names
agree.
and just have Turb in hand, like that's devastating. It was just bad. But yeah. Also, yeah. But I don't know. I think Imseti just goes too crazy. I do think that Imseti is like a how do I phrase this? I think that there are like a lot of signs of bad deck building. And I don't think that, I'm not meaning in this individual case because I think that the Imseti cards are crazy in Horus for what I think are obvious reasons. They seem to have a lot of great synergies. But I think in many decks people just slam in the Horus cards and just be like, "Yeah, it's fine." And I think it's not a very good um, sign if you're doing that. Um, I think it's like with Waka Ushi and like Refrain in that camp. But it looks to be working really well in the Christian deck. I know there have been a lot of tops with Christian playing the horse cards specifically in the weeks since then.
I love the fact you're comparing the Horus engine to some of the like the most like brain dead engines that you just shove in because they do whatever you want. Like
I'm sorry, is that not exactly Mseti?
kind of, but not really. I feel like the Horus cards are like slightly different because the
They're
Horus cards
better.
inherently
They're better. I'll give you
they're
that.
better. I think they also don't require that many bricks. If you look at the other engines, you got to play a lot of bricks to play that stuff.
I don't know. I'm looking at if you don't count King Sark, I guess you're looking at like a 2 out of 7
It's like
ratio,
Happy. Like
which
Happy's the
could be
only brick
worse.
technically.
Happy. What's Duamadef do in the hand, or do you have to like discard it through other means?
Not everyone plays Dumatef. I don't think you need Dumatef.
Okay.
Santoli played Dumatef, but his reasoning made sense for the reason that he played it. I'm just saying I don't think you need Dumatef.
Does Krishan waterlock you at any point,
No, he
or does he
doesn't.
just want a lot of names?
No, he played Dumatef because it turned Zombie Vampire into a Tristalos into a combo. Like that it turned that into like full combo.
Gotcha. Okay, fair enough then. I don't know. I just don't like these cards, but they're very good when they are good. Another notable standout was top 16 Sean, King of Flames got a top with Live Twin, which is very funny. Um, it's Live Twin. I'm looking at the list and it's exactly what I thought it would be.
It's pretty standard. I still don't like. No offense to people who play this deck and like it. I just can't see this deck actually performing because this deck loses to the Charmies way worse than any other deck in this format. Like
Yeah.
it's insane.
If you're gonna lose to the Charmies and not lose to Droll, just play Malice, I guess. You know,
Yeah, pretty much.
it's really good into Prulia though. I'll give it that.
It- it- I'll get yeah. You give it a draw, like that's fine.
Yeah, but going
But
like
even then,
going
like,
even on Prulia is like pretty good. It's better
mhm,
than Malice is doing right now.
fair enough.
One Blue Eyes made top 32. Looking at the list, it is Blue Eyes. It's just the same thing that they've been playing for the last however long.
Yeah,
Um,
nothing too crazy.
yeah. One Regenesis Cash made it. This deck's actually really interesting. Adam, one of our guys, has been playing this for the past couple weeks. It's neat. I don't know how. I don't have anything else to say other than this. It's neat.
I think this deck's fine. I think it pairs well into certain stuff. I think that this deck plays around Meowls and Fua extremely well, but if you Prulia them, they do not have fun whatsoever.
Every single
So
card specials from the hand. That's so funny. Except for what? There's one that specials from the deck, right?
that's Theosis. That's it. And then
No,
there's
no, no.
Code, I guess.
There's the Regenesis card, right?
That's Regenesis Code.
Yeah, yeah. And then the last Boogaloo one of top was Mermail. I
It's
don't know.
Marmel.
It's Mermail. Um, I think the biggest thing with these YCS results is that it really like the decks that could get like tier two status have really just been pushed down a little bit more by Mitsu and Ryziel or Mitsu and Malice predominantly.
Yeah, the decks are very much dominating. They're doing very well. They're just kind of cleaning house right now, and that's just how it's gonna be.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think like we're not going to see a big format change until like after Nats because as good as the like the cards in Duad I think are, especially in like the Vanquish Soul department, I don't think we're going to see much of a change until the crossover breakers, not crossover breakers, Justice Hunters comes out.
That's probably fair. I think there's a world where like Duad might change some stuff, but it's not gonna like uplift the entire metagame.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, we know that Malice and Mitsu, unless we get a ban list, those are going to be the decks to beat at Nats. Um, are there any? There's YCSs that just not in America before Nats, right? Or are there not anything?
I think there's some South America. There's like one or two South America things
Mm-hmm.
because I know they have their nationals before us. I
Yeah.
think we are second to last. I think EU is the last like NAWC or like WCQ for the season.
Mm-hmm.
So
Gotcha. I think we've talked about it before, but I still think that we're getting the new ban list at either NA or EU WCQs. My money is on EU right now because we've done the last two in NA and EU is after NA, so it'd be weird to announce a list at NA if it's not going to go into effect until after EU. So I'm pretty sure it's going to happen at EU WCQ.
I think it's fair. Oh, actually, yeah, because the it looks like the North America one is July 11th through the 13th, and both Central and South America are the week before, and then roughly about a month before that.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you guys think you're going to see the format like kind of what do you think it's going to crystallize into going into Nats?
I think we already kind of seen. I think it's very much we are in a Raziel Malice dominated format still. Like whether you play Raziel Mitsu or pure Raziel, like the Raziel cards are just still very good when you see them and get to use them, and the Malice cards are good when they get to play. Like that's just kind of how the format's like played out, and there's not much else to be said. Like those are the decks to know are in the metagame. They are the top dog. Those are the decks you should prepare for. But that doesn't mean like you can't take a deck that's lower and do well. Like we've seen plenty of people take decks like Blue Eyes, Pure Mitsu or Mitsu Fiendsmith, Crystron, White Forest, Mermail, Odeon, like all these other decks, and even Mento, and are doing well. It's just a matter of they're just not doing as well to the scale we are with Raziel and Malice post Allen.
So you don't think we're going to just figure the decks out come Nats and then all of a sudden it's going to be a much wider format?
I think at Nats, less people will probably play Malice. I think people will go in like playing through this format and come to realize that Malice is a good deck, but it's not a deck I would want to take to an event knowing that you were just going to lose games because you opened either poorly or you get Lancey in games 2 and 3, and there's nothing you can do about it.
If all
Like,
you want to do at Nats is day two and maybe top 64, then Malice is what is perfectly fine. But if you want to
yeah,
do well, like make it in deep into top cut, terrible deck.
Do you think people are still going to be on like seven Charmies in main type thing
So
if
that one's
people are
actually
expecting less Malice?
that one's really interesting because I've seen people over the last like week or so drop the number of Charmies in the main deck and put Droll in the main deck. Though because like if you're expecting only Malice, then I think like 7-6 Charmies main deck is like great. But if you are expecting any amount of Mitsurugi, like suddenly those Charmies are a humongous liability. Mitsu play can play into all of them a little bit. Like you get 2 draws off each of them when activated, which I don't think is going to be good enough to beat the Mitsu end board. And also they conflicts with the best card into Mitsu, which is exactly Droll. So
I can fully agree with that statement. I think that is something I can agree with. I think we're going to see that Charmy counts go down, and I think you can see that across like regional results. Regional results, you're seeing a lot of people who are just main decking 3 FUA and like main decking Droll and saying that's good enough and go with it. So.
yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. Also, I think it's weird. Every time we get into our new format, I like take the Bystials out because like the Bystial's not very good, and slowly but surely, I just keep upping the Bystial count in my deck.
I don't know, but what is the perspective you're having, Noah? Because it's like as you're more of an outsider to the game right now. Like, what's your perspective? Like looking into the metagame, do you think that like you would expect to see those changes based on what you know and what you've seen?
Oh, that's a very good question. My only format experience is hanging around the bottom tables, and from that I can say Blue Eyes seems like a pretty big contender. But looking at these top lists, it doesn't seem like that's the case. It's interesting because it seems like from the limited understanding I have of both Mitsu and Malice is they don't particularly need the help going first. That like you don't need to resolve Malice combo and have two hand traps. It doesn't seem like it's the case for Mitsu either. So in that way, I don't see like the Charmies going down as a necessity, but it seems like if they're not as good against Mitsu, then that's just not then they'll go down. But then that seems like you kind of I don't know if you need as many against Malice, but it seems like that is the solution that people have found to combating it. Because from my memory going into the format, everyone was like, "Oh, Malice might even be tier 0. That could be," which we saw it didn't come to pass thanks to this awesome TCG archetype, which is
Mhm.
pretty cool that we have one of those.
I think it's cool that we have a TCG exclusive archetype that's really good. I think that's really cool.
Yeah, and
However,
a
if
ritual
it could have
one
been a
too.
different TCG exclusive archetype, I think it would have been fine too. I don't mind Mitsu. I think Mitsu's cool, but like Lord of Mercy, that deck is annoying when it goes first.
I have yet to play against it,
You
so
are a lucky man. No,
yeah,
I
I'll
think that
let you
this
know in
format.
August.
I think the problem with this format is like the best two decks are not particularly fun to play against. You know, like I like Malice. I like playing first with Malice. But I don't like playing the mirror match. The mirror match is awful, and I don't like playing against Mitsu because it's just roll or die. Um, and like neither like Mitsu is really good at going second, but I don't think it's good enough to invalidate the Malice end board, and I don't think Malice is good at going second at all. Like people are just giving Malice like 5 draws off the Charmies and just saying go, and then they're just still losing, which is crazy. Um, so I don't know. This format's bad, is my thesis. They took a very good format and then they semi-limited all the good cards, and then the format was bad.
I don't know if I'd say the format's bad. I think this format is more of a like combo combo forward format where combo decks more often than not are gonna thrive. Where normally speaking, a lot of people are more inclined to enjoy formats where that's not the case. Like that just seems to be the player opinion.
Yeah, my favorite time to be playing a combo deck is when other people are not playing a combo deck. Like I was playing Vanadium during like the first Snake Eye format, and that was great because no one was playing Droll and Lockbird. Everyone was playing the terrible hand like the Ash and the Imprims and the Veilers, and Vanadium just ate those for breakfast. It was great. Um, but I don't know. I just think that like every time I play against a deck that's not Mitsu, I feel like there's a lot of good gameplay on the other deck side, not mine. Um, like I feel like it's just fine, and like I don't know really, I don't know what I'm saying. I just don't I liked it better before.
That's pretty fair consensus. Most people would agree with you there, but
Yeah, I'm looking
it's just
forward
different.
to Justice Hunter so much. We are gonna have decks that are lose to things. We're gonna be playing Pankratops in the side deck. It's gonna be great. Have you ordered your QCR Pankratops? They are $3. I'm considering getting a playset.
All right,
Very funny.
not too shabby.
As long as they properly deal with Malice and Mitsu, I think, then Justice Hunters will be a good format. Because I think
I really don't know how they're gonna hit Mitsu. It's gonna be weird.
it's like
It'll be interesting.
I think that like the only thing you need to do to hit Mitsu really is hit. Well, I was gonna say hit the side engines, which I think that's going to be how they approach it. But pure Mitsu's still pretty good.
I don't know. Are we finally going to see cards like pre-prep get hit?
It's gonna. Let's be honest here. It's gonna be prayers. They're gonna limit prayers and call it good. And honestly, that'll be enough. Like limiting prayers will probably make the engine a lot worse.
Yeah, I mean, you already have to play blue cards in the main deck. You do not want to be playing blue cards in the main deck unless you have to. Is there anything else you want to talk about in regards to the YCS, or is that mostly it?
I think it's mainly it. Those are the most. That's most of what we were kind of just like looking at, like how the format's shaking out for post Allen. So
Any super hype matches that we wanted to talk about?
Oh, this
watching every game of Shoopings was a wonderful pastime.
Well, okay. To be fair, Shuping is one of the most lovely people to watch duel on Earth. Just swinging in for no damage Exciton is very funny.
Yeah, it was very funny. The watch all of us once go. That doesn't do anything. He's like,
Yeah.
I know. Isn't it funny?
I like Shuping. He's a funny guy. I actually, so this YCS, I was moving to my new house on the same day as the YCS was happening. So I watched all of nothing that day. And then I watched like the finals the next day. And then that was pretty much all I was witness to for like a day or so after the YCS happened. Um, so I'm the wrong man to ask, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I believe I would be as well.
All right. Well, let's move on to the regional. We had the Indianapolis regional this past weekend. Noah, I think you're going to have the most interesting results. What deck you play,
Well,
Noah?
first,
So
I first off, let me preface for the team. Say it was a bit of a rough one for Team Evo going into this one. I don't think any of us came out with our goals. You know, I was hoping to get my invite. I went 1-4 on Fiendsmith Hero.
You had I think you had the most what is the word? Optimistic expectations from this regional.
People thought my deck was really cool. It's so funny. MBT, I put out a video this week on it where
Yeah,
we
I saw that.
basically came to the same conclusions, except because he has Verte, play DPE.
Yeah, I notice how they said your deck is really cool and not your deck is really good.
That is true. Yeah.
I will
I
also
played
say lore. Noah did not expect to go to this regional, but he found out that he had like the perfect storm of availability the day before. So he texts
yeah.
me the day before and's like, "Grant, I'm going to the regional. Show me in your card." I said, "Great." And so he shows up at my house like the night before, and he's building the deck with Nick. And I don't know what any fucking hero card does that's not exactly Sinister Necrom or Dusted Gold. Um, and
he
so
played those.
they're deck
He
building, and
did.
I'm just sitting there sorting cards while they're doing that, and I'm watching like every time they would bring out interaction, be like, you could just be playing the Fiendsmith cards in like 27 hand traps.
These are cooler. These get you into the Fiendsmith cards.
You could just be playing
Stratos for the
Lubellion.
small price of half of your life points.
You could just be playing the cash cards.
Yeah, you're right.
Listen, the Vicious Claws was cool, and it did a lot of work for Noah.
Yeah,
Vicious
it
Claws is the
did.
best
I don't
card in
think
the
I got
deck.
to. No, I did. Did get to use the non-targeting pop effect.
There's a non-targeting pop effect on Vicious Claws.
Yes, when one of your cards is destroyed by battle or by card effect, you can special, and if you have a monster that mentions Dark Fusion, non-targeting pop once per duel.
Once per duel. Now, hang
I
on. I think that
know.
pick might be too powerful for once per
Yeah, I
duel.
know.
Once
No,
per
genuinely, the
duel.
cards felt very smooth, very nice to play. I remember my round three. I think I was against Memento, and he started just popping all my shit, and then I dark calling, shuffled back, or not dark calling, contact shuffled back a Necrom from last turn and an Engraver, and somehow got to I think a Malicious Bane pushed through his board, and then I got to use the Necrom again, just doing that all so smooth, so clean. Um, Trying to think of changes since last time. It was just adding claws. He just does a lot because that gives you a reason to play Stratos because that's two bodies because that's Moon. It is definitely just a Fiendsmith deck though. I decided not to do DPE because I decided to opt into playing the Trap, which honestly, kind of a house.
Do you play any Destiny heroes in that list?
Nope. The one thing was maybe playing a Denier because it's a free body or a Celestial because it's a draw, but didn't. I just felt like more hand traps was the move, and other than my wonderful deck error of having two Shadow Mist that lost me my round two, shout out,
So
shout out
stupid.
John. That was my first. That was his first like round at a regional. He showed up too late to his round one, and he just sat down, and I was like, "Oh, this is the most complicated round I've ever had." As because this is the it's the first time I got deck checked, and I figured something was wrong because, as you mentioned, we were doing stuff at like 10 p.m. last night, or no, later than that, the night before, and that I need to start putting my deck lists in a little bit sooner. I think.
I think everybody has like a decklist error at some point, you know. Like I've had
It's destined to happen. Like things go under, like go through the cracks. It just happens.
yeah, I've gotten
This
deck
is
checked and like had an error before. You know, it happens.
That's true. But I don't know. I'm a little prone to those types of things, so I'd imagine I should probably get into the habit of, if I'm taking things seriously, going after that.
Will you be? Are you taking things seriously? You played Heroes.
That is true. Hey, solid tier 3.5 option in this meta, I think.
Once you pass the bar, then we can get real into Justice Hunters format.
Yep, it'll be great.
Are you
And
playing
I'll
Vanquish Soul K9 for that?
That is a really good question. I think I'm going to see how all of the decks play, but probably. But part
I
of
will
me is
tell you
just
right
looking.
now, you're going to be playing Vanquish Soul K9, just looking at the decks.
I don't know. I keep seeing Dragon Tail and thinking, ooh,
Isn't Dragon Tail just branded?
yeah. But I always have like a lost cause thing for me about Branded. Like if I played it and I got really good at it, it would have been so fun, and I definitely could have done it, but I probably couldn't have. But this is
I
I
feel
could
like
just
branded is a deck you have to have started playing in 2022, I think.
I don't know. We'll see. And this could be the deck I start playing in 2025.
Mm. I feel like that's memento for a lot of people right now.
Yeah.
Honestly.
No,
Um,
so about the rest of the regional, I did have a really good time, I will say. It was like I just talked with my opponents all day. It was really fun. Didn't take it all too seriously, and at the bottom tables, it is definitely more conducive to that. But yeah, I all of my opponents were really chill, and they all said my deck was cool, and I said you got to stop gassing me up because that's can't I can't.
We can't live in a world where Noah thinks his deck is actually good.
Yeah, because then I'll keep playing it.
we need to just get his invite next year at some point.
Yeah. Well, I'm
Yeah.
getting my invite at Lansing on Fiendsmith Hero.
Oh, I'm
I
sure you
believe.
are.
Have some faith. He's our buddy.
I love Noah. But I don't love the deck choice.
I think my losses were all, except for the one where I just drew four normal summons. That was, I think all of them were winnable, and I just lost in time because I don't play these cards.
And you lose half your life points in one card.
Yeah, that too.
He got skill dipped. He wasn't prepared.
Yeah.
Big rip.
All right, what did
Um,
you play at the regional, Grant?
I played Maliss. I played Adagnister Maliss. So I had a very funny regional experience. But before the regional, I was looking for the cards at like a sneak peek. And there's one sneak peek in like Ypsilanti that I go to whenever I need to get sneak peek cards. Because everyone there doesn't really they play meta, but like not really. You know what I mean? Like there's a couple people who play meta, but most people just play their fun deck, which is perfectly fine. It's the perfect environment for going and trying to just find the cards you need. And so I drive down with our buddy JP, and one guy, or JP has a hair for me, and I'm like, sick. So I just need to get a code, two more hairs, and three backups. So I go, we play, we buy some packs, we do the entry, and then we pull nothing, like flat nothing. And so we do our round one, and I'm talking to one of my friends from there, and I'm like, just randomly, do you have these cards? And I'm like, the answer's got to be no. And he's like, oh, I have them. What do you need? And I was like, I need two hair, three backup, one echo. And he just like slaps them all in front of me. He's like, I'll do 80%. And I was like, thank you so much. Thank you so much. So I got all the cards in one go.
Actually, insanity.
Beautiful.
Actually, insanity.
I love Fun for All in Ypsilanti, my favorite sneak peek location. This is the same place we got an entire Fiendsmith core in the span of 2 hours. That was for Nats last year. Thankfully, this year, I don't think there's any day zero cards I need to get because I don't think I'm anything in Duad really matters for Malice. But yeah, a Fun for All Ypsilanti, love that place. So I go to the regional, and I went 6-3 at this regional, which is a pain in the ass because I think I've gone 6-3 at like the last 3 or 4 regionals I've been to. I think I went 5-3 at the last one, and then like 6-3, no 5-4 at the last one, and then 6-3 at like the last 3 before that. It was crazy. So, my round one, I don't remember anything from this regional. By the way, I looked at my notes because we all do the thing where we type in or we tweet our match by match like results, and I looked over all my matches like I remember none of this stuff. I remember I played against Fire King. That guy was cool. I remember 2 of my matches very specifically. So I sit down my round 6, and my opponent just flat out no shows. Like no one shows up. And so the time goes by, and I go back to the group, and they were like, Grant, you're done early, and I was like, yeah, and they're like, Malice, and I'm like, no. I just like I aura farmed my opponent. I showed up, and my aura was too strong for them to actually be able to come to the table. So they just accepted their defeat before they even showed up. And let me tell you, Nick was not happy to hear this bit from me because I'll be real, this bit was funny. It was so much funnier because Nick was so annoyed with it.
That's standard for most bits. I'll give you
It
that.
was so funny. So it kept going on like that, like for the next 20 minutes. And then our next round gets posted, and I have another no-show. And so I go back, and I'm like, guys, the aura is too strong. He felt it through the ether, like cross dimensions. I like was able to send psychic brainwaves to get him to not show up. It was so funny. And then Nick said that the next opponent I'm going to face is going to have the power of 3 people to basically make up for all the people I've missed out on. The third opponent's going to have the power of the first 2 combined, plus him. And then my 8th round is Tavion Crowley, winner of YCS Orlando this year. So I think he was right. I think he actually hit it right on the head.
It's like listen, I'm a fortune teller, and I just saw the future.
He's being very calm right now, but Lord have mercy, I thought he was actually going to start attacking me at the regional.
Mercy. I felt like I was pulling myself out of the trenches in some of my games to walk back to hear you go, yeah, I aura farmed my opponent. It was so easy.
I cannot
I'm
stress.
like,
I cannot stress how annoying I was about this. It was one of those things where I could feel myself getting more annoying, but I could not prevent what was happening. And then my last round, it was against Christian. It was pretty unremarkable, I think. Malice felt pretty good. I definitely deck built, assuming... Okay, so I assumed that most people would be on Malice, because even though Mitsu I thought was the best deck at that point, I still figured that, like, it's... Michigan is like Malice hell. Everyone in Michigan plays Malice. So I figured everyone at Indy would be playing Malice, and I was wrong. So I'll have to adjust for that going forward. I was playing 6 Charmies main. I think going forward, I'm going to take out the 3 Perulia, and move them to the side and put in 3 Droll. Because Droll's also neat because you can Droll yourself in Malice and end on, I think, everything except for the Bomber Dragon if you Droll yourself. Which, Firewall plus Cryptor plus 3 DD Crows plus 07 was the board we were making about 4 weeks ago. So it should still be good enough, relatively speaking. But it's better, than giving your opponent like 7 draws off Charmies. Especially if they're playing like Mitsu, a deck that can push through some interaction. One thing was a weird development, and I had been told this, and I still kind of don't really believe it, but I get what they're coming from, is that the Fiendsmith cards are now a lot better in the Malice when Fiendsmith goes first. Because before, you were playing like 5 or 6 Bestials in the main deck, so you just like farmed like people playing Fiendsmith cards. But I was on 2 Bestials main deck this event, and so there was legitimately a time when I was like going second in a Fiendsmith deck, where I was like, I really need me some Fiendsmith cards. I was playing 1 Magma Druid main. I was boarding 2 Baldrake, but I was like, I feel like I might up the count going forward because they're still pretty good extenders in Malice. They're like the worst extenders, but they're also hand traps, so I guess they get to get away with that. I don't know. Overall, I did fine. I'm happy. I think I played like absolute ass like at the very beginning of the day, and then like by round 4, I started playing better and like I was actually doing well. So yeah. Nick got 30th at the event. Oh, I got like a 50 something. I don't think it matters. Nick got 30th.
yeah, my end record was X2-1. I drew the first round against Memento. No shade to this guy. I don't think he knew the deck super well, which just kind of dragged out our game, so we kind of went the time. But otherwise, very good guy. And then my other 2 losses were, I lost to the guy who won the regional, who was on Fiendsmith Blue Eyes, which is cool. The other reason to beat me, though, is our second game. I open up Strike, Bell, Valor, Cross, and I was like, oh, what a hand. Set 2 pass. Draw another card for turn. Draw Imperm. Okay, set a card pass. And then finally on turn 3, I drew a starter, to which it didn't matter because my opponent had all his shit set up, so.
Yeah.
So, that was the first actual loss of the day, and then during the last round, I lost to Regenesis Cash, and I lost that game. I think more so because he drew like a very particular hand, in like off of Prulia / Fua draws, and it just kind of worked out in his favor. And I don't think there's anything I could have done. I've replayed that game in my head so many times, but I don't know if there's much I could have done. Oh, and I was playing Fiendsmith Raziel, if that wasn't clear. I literally took Shuping's list and said,
Mm.
I was like, oh, this deck's pretty good. Ran with it, and it was pretty good. I had no major complaints. Deck felt very good.
Except for the part where you bricked.
Yeah, that's kind of that's the name of the game with the deck now. It's like you lack starters. Even though you max out all the Fiendsmith stuff, you still sometimes just don't draw stuff to play, which is unfortunate.
You
But
are desperate now. I saw you were playing 2 Lacrima. That shit's crazy.
2 lack was actually not that bad. Like it converts the duo. It works.
Hmm.
I can't complain.
Two.
But no, regional experience was really good. Most of my opponents were very, very good across the board. Had a grand time. Again, I really like this deck, and I'm really tempted to play it for the Lansing Regional. But I got the Horus Race Brew I really want to take, but I don't know if it's good enough. But we'll see.
Mm-hmm. All right, we've been recording for about 50 minutes now. That was like most of the big topic items. We're gonna talk about some random shit for like the next like 20 minutes. Before we begin this next topic, I need to stress that like we're not hating on anybody. Like people are gonna do what they're gonna do. We don't mean no shade to anybody involved with this, but we are gonna talk about some drama that happened on Twitter this week. So basically, and again, I need to stress this enough. Don't want to burn any bridges. We don't care. We're just talking about it.
Zach, please sponsor the pod. Please come
Please
on the
sponsor
pod.
the podcast. Listen, Pack, don't assault me, please. So, yeah, Pack and Jib, and I think Nesh also did. I can't remember if he was involved or not.
This entire the entire scheme of this entire thing is all a part of like this group inherently. But
Yeah. So they released a spreadsheet that you could purchase, ahead of the YCS, and they specifically marketed it as like for the YCS. I guess I will say, like, if you want to do well at the YCS, you want to get a jump start on the meta. Here are these spreadsheets you can use to like get the basic combos down. And they brought lists that did not include several important end board pieces and combo pieces in those lists. So I think the 2 examples specifically is they were not playing GWC. Oh, I didn't even talk about that. People were not playing GWC at the YCS. People are playing GWC now. I think we just all decided it, but we're playing GWC. Side note. They were not playing GWC in their list, but they had GWC as a part of their end board piece, and they were using it over the course of their combo, and they were playing Bomber Dragon instead of Accode. Now, the lines itself are not really what's important. People online were unhappy with the idea that people bought the spreadsheet just for them to learn lines that were not the one being played by the people who created the spreadsheet. And Pack posted on Twitter something to the effect of, if you're playing GWC and playing Accode, you're behind. Or it was like, GWC, you're behind. If you're playing Accode, you're lost, or something like that. Which is very funny. But that's basically the drama. I think he like walked back, or like he deleted the tweet later on. So like, how much of that did he mean? I don't know. I could very much see it being like a thing that he thought and then walked back. I don't know. Couldn't tell you. But that is basically the situation. And I think we'll just go over kind of like our thoughts and basically what happened. My thought process, and I think me and Nick agree. I don't know about Noah, but I know me and Nick agree that the only issue we really have is the marketing of the spreadsheet. Like, I feel like it would have been a lot more fair for them to say, hey, here are the very basic lines, instead of here are the lines you need to learn the deck. Here are the very basic lines you need to get started with the comp. This is like the first 10 hours of gameplay we did. Then we made the spreadsheet, instead of this is what we did at the end of our testing session, which is what kind of appeared to be what they were going for. Am I off base? Is that how you guys feel?
I think that's a majority of it. It's like, I have no problem with people trying to sell their like time and their like experience, to like for people to make some money, because Yu-Gi-Oh doesn't offer that in a great way for like prizing. But it's just like in like people we've talked about this locally. it's like not to like shame the people who do it and things like that. It's like, but if you're buying a spreadsheet, at some point you have to understand like you're doing this because you don't have the time to test or you don't have the effort to put in. So at some point, like, can you be all that upset when the situation plays out like this? Like, you didn't have the time and you got to know something. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
it's not the best thing, but it's like you were better off than you were without it. Like,
I think I purchased exactly one spreadsheet, and that was because I was going to this past YCS Niagara, and I was taking Chimera, and I literally did not test for it at all because I knew I wasn't able to get FUAs, so I wasn't going to take it very seriously. And so, like the night before Nightfall released a spreadsheet about Chimera combos, I was like, I should probably just buy this and to be honest, and just like learn some lines before tomorrow. Didn't help, but like that I think is like the least that's like a situation I think is respectable where you just like you didn't put any effort in, you just want to like know the lines. You don't have any time to test it out. Um, but yeah, Noah, your thoughts?
How woke am I allowed to get on this?
How woke are you allowed to get?
within reason. I don't know. I
Don't
don't
get
know
us
how crazy you're
banned.
gonna go on this regard.
Within reason, I'm a little unsure, but to me, this seems not necessarily malicious, but a bit irresponsible.
Mm-hmm.
Because from my understanding, it's very difficult to find good, reliable ways to get to this, like, th get good at the game, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think a top player with a lot of name recognition peddling anything carries a lot of weight. No matter how it's marketed, the I think a mid-level player who I don't know, I would say someone like myself, lower mid-level player, if I didn't necessarily have the, I guess, knowledge on how to get good at things like this generally from games I played in the past of being able to kind of weed out the sincere from the, I'll say the content. I feel like this is something that I might have just bought thinking I was going to get specific insights from a player who's way better than me at this game. And it sounds like this, what they got was not of the quality that they would expect from an incredibly high level player at the game. Am I correct in that?
Yeah, I think
I don't
so.
know if I would. I don't know if I agree with that. This like you have to imagine like people who are like if the spreadsheet is marketed in a way like here are the combo lines that are expected like for like post Allen things you're gonna want to know. You know what I mean? That's how it's marketed.
I think the only
Yeah.
thing that I have issue with personally is exactly the marketing. I think if they walked into this being like, we tested it for 15 hours and here's our results after those 15 hours, I think that there would be essentially no drama. Like, it would have been perfectly fine.
Mm.
I've been like, this is your jump start. You need to test after this. Then that would have been fine. The way that these spreadsheets are generally marketed is that if you want to, I think Triff popularized this kind of sentiment, but if you want to get second place at this YCS, second place to me exactly, you buy this spreadsheet and you just learn the combos and such, which is just not true. It's just not true. Um, that's kind of where I'm coming at it from.
Yeah. I don't know if other games have even anything
I
like
think that
analogous to this.
I think that Magic does, but it's all like primers and such are free. I could be wrong. I don't play any other card games. Um, I know Pokemon has something. I shouldn't have said anything. I actually just don't know.
Okay.
Magic is like the thing that Grant was saying where they have primers, but most of the time people who are giving out primers aren't charging for it to my knowledge. Most of it's just like online YouTube content. It's like here's a primer on how to play this commander. Here's some text you can play with this command. Things you know what I mean, like things to that degree.
Yeah. If the audience knows, please leave it in the comment section below. I'm gonna R farm for him a second here. Um,
Mm.
but yeah, and like God knows that Yu-Gi-Oh doesn't pay its people who do well. You know, God knows there's no prizing in this game. So the idea of trying to find some other avenue for making money, perfectly, I think that's perfectly fine. That's why so many top Yu-Gi-Oh players do YouTube content in some way, or they're sponsored
Hmm.
by like a team.
No, I guess my only real problems with it are I would love to have like they've I don't know. To me, it feels like they broke some weird arbitrary rule that I have of like responsibility of fostering a good community, which I can't really fault them
No, I think that's
personally for just not knowing or not wanting the exact same direction for fostering a Yu-Gi-Oh community that I do.
And I
I
think a lot of this just comes down to I think when Pac made the discussion or the tweet about like it's like a if you're main decking GWC you're behind if you're playing and if you're ending on at code you're lost. This goes back to when people were playing Dotscaper and there was a ton of people making fun of people playing Dotscaper and saying if you're main decking Dotscaper you're behind. And I think he's
Hmm.
trying to make a big joke, but I just think that like that joke uh it's just kind of like it just gets people rubs people the wrong way when the situation plays out the way it did.
Yeah,
yeah. And also like I will say like it seems like most people have agreed that you still play GWC. Like the lines that don't play GWC are just incredibly vulnerable to like everything in a way that they were before Alan came out. Because now you're trying to also end on with hair in the hand, which insulates your GWC a little bit. So if you don't do that, you lose to Bell like crazy, and you're not ending on the Omni negate, so you have no way to protect the GWC. So it's like I don't think this is a very clear, right or wrong. I think you can not play it, you can play it, whatever. It looks like people have decided we still play it. Um, and like if you're gonna go out big dick swinging, you gotta be right. I think he was generally correct about the dot scaper. He started saying about TB11 and Fiendsmith Malice, which I think he was correct on in that as well. But this one is not as simple a call. So if you're gonna go swinging, you gotta be right.
true.
I suppose while we're talking about money in Yu-Gi-Oh, we should talk about the prizing update. I know that there was a prizing update. I don't know what it is. I know they're giving out cards. Nick, I feel like you know what it is.
I do. So, what they've done is now, if you make day two at a YCS, you will be given a day two prize pack, which include special stamped promos of different cards. In during the live stream, they showed off cards like Dante, the Arrival Adagnister, and something else I can't think of. But they just had you get I don't know if it's one or two cards in the pack, but they're super rares and they're stamped with the YCS logo, which is super cool. So now if you actually make day two, it's not like, oh, I made day two, I lost out, I don't get nothing for my time. Because honestly, that's probably like one of the worst feelings at a YCS. Like you're so close to top cut, and then you just get either blown out or something, and you don't make it, you don't convert, and you get nothing for your time. So that's super cool to see. Then they've also introduced a top 32 prize card, which the one they showed off was Card Trooper, has the same YCS stamp, and I don't know if the stamps are really going to be event specific or if there's going to be like just the general YCS stamp on there. I'm not quite sure, but it looks like the top 32 one is also a super, and then when you go in the top 16, they're giving out Valor, which I believe is an ultra rare, and it's got the stamp promo for like the YCS on there as well. So like these cards will be very much sought after across the board. I think the Valor will be probably the most expensive one, and that one people will want that card for sure.
Yeah,
So
max rarity Valor is going to be like YCS top four Valor, I guess. Or
maybe it's hard to say. It really depends on how many of these cards they print and how often they do the rotation of when we get new cards for like YCSs and stuff.
yeah, I feel like they could do like a card per region per year. Like North America gets a prize card, South America gets a prize, like a specific instance of a card, and like they'd be like they would never run out of staples to do. But I also like I like that they're doing a mix of staples and like cards that are relevant to the support being released right now and also historical cards. So like Card Trooper is like a card that is good in Edison format. It's good in like Tengu Plant format, I think. The Arrival Adagnister is for the new Adagnister support that just came out. And then like Valor is a meta staple that has been seeing play for like 15 years. That's I like that they're doing a mix. It'd be weird if they just did historical cards or just like cards with support coming out.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
don't think
I
it'd
can
be weird if
agree.
they just did meta cards though. They could literally just do like a new meta card every time and be fine.
Mhm. And I would love to see them change the cards they're giving out more frequently than not.
Mm-hmm.
I would love for there to be a limited supply of these cards to make them more sought after. Like, you know what I mean? Like you ran half a year of top 16 being Valor, and now we're not giving out Valor anymore. Now we're giving out like Imperm or something. You know what I mean?
If you want these cards to have long lasting value and like high value, you gotta reinforce the idea that there's some sort of artificial rarity on them.
Hmm.
But yeah, that's all
It's
the
super.
topic.
Honestly super cool.
Yeah, I think it's a. I don't know if it's necessarily enough. I think it's a tremendous step in the correct direction.
And again, and like people always like kind of like shit on Konami for like not being like willing to change and like update with the times. But I think over the course like these last like 3 to 4 years, Konami has really been trying to put an effort into taking what people are saying to them in these surveys and at events, and then they're really trying to push and make that happen. It just nothing is as simple as just making it happen. Like, it takes time.
Yeah, I definitely felt like the response from Konami this past like year since I guess since Nats of 24 was has been really good, and I think that like the meta since like I guess since Rota format has been pretty good. So I appreciate them putting time into both the metagame quality and also the larger player base like experience. All right, I think that's all we got for this instance. Anything else you want to talk about before we go?
I think that's all I don't have anything else crazy to add or mention. Again, I look forward to everything upcoming. Nats year sounds like it's gonna be a grand time at Indy, so I'm
Mm-hmm.
looking forward to that.
Yeah.
All right. Our next episode should be the regional report for the Lansing regional. We might do like a lot of people on that episode, or we might give people like little sections where they jump on. I'm not entirely sure, but we're gonna have a lot of guys on the team on that at that regional, so we'll figure out something for that.
With a
Um,
variety of really cool decks, I'm sure.
Ranging from
It sounds like
Mitsu
we are
to
gonna have a
Malice.
big mix of different decks at that event for sure.
Yeah, I think only two of us actually. I think I play Malice, and that might be it. I think
Well,
Jenny
we'll have
plays
Cody. Cody will play.
Cody will play Malice. Jenny will play Mitsu probably. I think Sam said he's gonna be playing Mermail or Memento, so he won't be on Mitsu. Gerchek's gonna play Mitsu, and that might be it for like Mitsu and Malice. Let me tell
And
you,
we have
it's
a ton
so
of other
weird
just kind of
playing a
like
good deck
roguey
for once.
decks running around.
Yeah, I think. Oh Lord, I think Matt's gonna play Ryziel, Ryziel Ritual Feast. It's so stupid.
Listen, when it works, it works.
Yeah, when he draws Canahawk and I don't draw interaction, or when I draw Lancia and he draws exactly Sword, I think it works great. That happened at locals
Fantastic.
like last week where I drew like Lancia Fua and he didn't draw a single Ritual Beast name. It was great. All right, and with that, we will see you guys probably in early June. Peace out.
Hmm.
Nick say bye.
Adios.
Bye.
Nick say bye.
I said adios. What do you want?
You didn't say it loud enough. I think I talked over you. That's your problem now.
What? That's not my fault. It's your fault.
Now it's your fault. Bye.